A line drawn across a blank heart of a continent, a bold plan, and a silence that would haunt a nation. This is the lost expedition of Central Australia. In August 1860, an expedition departed Melbourne to cross the continent south to north. Science, surveying, and national prestige driving every step. The leader, a determined former police officer, was chosen to command men, animals, and precious stores. Optimism ran high as cheers faded behind the wagons. Their objectives were clear: chart a practicable route, gather scientific observations, and prove a pathway through the deadly heart of the interior. Supplies were lavish and heavy: water bags, flour and salted meat, tents and instruments, loaded onto camels and drays for the long, dry haul. Ahead lay red dunes and stony gibber plains, distances that bent the horizon, and a sun that burned through canvas and resolve alike. Water, always water, set the rhythm. Soaks in claypans promised life, then vanished into dust with a breath of wind. Early days brought steady progress. Survey lines marked, bearings checked at dusk, journals filled with latitudes and the names of scant waterholes. Camels knelt and rose under towering loads. Hooves and pads scuffed pale tracks over dunes that the wind erased by afternoon. Heat shimmered so fiercely that landforms wavered like mirages. Lips cracked, hands split. Every mile demanded water they could not spare. Then came the dust, walls of it, sand whipping tents flat, compasses and notes gritty, mouths packed with the taste of stone. Messages lagged behind the party, weeks stretched without word. In the settled south, curiosity began to turn into unease. In the interior, decisions tightened like a noose. How far to push, what to cache, when to split the party, and which water might still be there tomorrow. Under a moonless sky, the fire fell to coals. The leader checked bearings once more, drew a straight line north, and gave the word to move at first light. At Cooper Creek, a depot was fixed as lifeline and turning point. Beyond it, the maps thinned, and the white spaces swallowed detail. Then, in the shifting theater of dunes and stony flats, the threads snapped, tracks faded, signals missed, timing slipped by hours that became everything. Confusion followed like shadow. When help looked, there was only wind over empty dunes, and the first hint that an expedition had vanished into legend. At first light, they rolled north from the railhead, then west into the center. Maps spread across the bonnet, compass and sun shadow checks at every fork in the track. Small aircraft droned overhead, scouting salt pans and desert creeks, while the convoy threaded between dune lines. Stores were tallied, water drums lashed down, and the route penciled from station to station, well to well, into country where a wrong bearing could cost days. Early on, a navigation slip around a shimmering clay pan pushed them wide. Landmarks drifted, sun haze flattened every rise. They corrected by dead reckoning and distant mesa, but hours burned away. Rations tightened, water measured by the mug, salt tablets shared at midday halts. The country warned them, wind-bearing tracks within minutes, faint wheel marks vanishing into glare. Machines and animals began to feel it. Filters clogged with dust, radiators boiled on long pulls, and a tire split on stony ground. The camel team balked at a soft pan, sore-footed and thirsty. At a scrubby camp, they patched tubes, bled cooling lines, shifted loads, and argued the choice. Turn back to a sure soak, or press on toward the next numbered well. Their last firm anchors came quickly, then stopped. A drover at a homestead yard recalled them passing mid-afternoon, heading for the dogleg track. A mail pilot spotted a thin smoke column near a low rise, and a scratchy wireless message, radiator trouble, water running short, faded into static. After that, nothing certain. When they failed to make the next scheduled call-in, the station manager raised the alarm. Police at the nearest township logged the overdue party, rang neighboring properties, and notified air services. Within hours, a search base formed around a dirt strip. Fuel drums rolled into line, maps unrolled, grid squares penciled tight against time. The call-out drew a frontier roster: country police and bush trackers, Aboriginal guides who knew the soak lines by memory, local pilots in high-wing Cessnas, and volunteer parties in well-worn four-wheel drives. Names were taken, ranges and payloads listed, and every likely line of march marked from well to well. Aerial sweeps lifted at dawn and late light, when shadows pulled tracks from the sand. Pilots flew ladder patterns over salt pans and dunes, eyes hunting for wheel ruts, a camel string, a glint of canvas. On the ground, teams lit signal fires on rises and flashed mirrors toward passing aircraft, walking bearing lines to the next water. Trackers read the country like a ledger. A splayed tire print meant a heavy load. Scuffed heel marks showed someone dragging. Camel pads told of a tired lead. They checked soaks and blowouts, ringed water holes for sign, and counted days in the wind scour over a print. Thin evidence, always slipping away. Radios crackled with position reports on set skeds. Fuel and water dumps were leapfrogged ahead by truck, then by camel when tracks ran out. But the country fought back. Dust storms grounded aircraft, mirage blurred horizons, and a single hot wind erased a day's wheel marks as if no one had ever passed. Through the night, beacons burned on dune tops and kerosene lanterns ringed camps. Navigators laid perspex overlays on the map and redrew grid boxes by torchlight. Pilots flew at first light on drift and ground speed, adjusting for crosswind, chasing a tin's worth of smoke that always turned into spinifex haze. Technology bent under the weight of distance. Batteries failed, magnetos coughed in heat, and a promised well plotted on an old chart stood dry and caved in. Vehicles cracked springs. Camels lay down in the midday. Even when a track was found, the wind pared it to nothing, a ridge or two beyond. With each empty grid, the perimeter widened, from station country into deeper desert, across salt flats and long corridors of dune. Search boxes multiplied on the map, but the odds thinned. Every new square meant more fuel burned, more daylight spent, and fewer signs to read. Back at the strip, families and townsfolk watched the horizon and the windsock. Thermoses passed from hand to hand while radios hissed with rumor and hope. Volunteers cycled out, dust-streaked and sun-cracked, then turned around and went again. Word spread beyond the ranges. Reporters bumped in on mail flights, photographing tire stacks and men poring over charts on camp tables. Headlines promised breakthroughs. The desert answered with silence and wind. Coordination tightened. More flights were rostered, each with fuel and range carefully penciled. Ground columns were paired with trackers and water carts. Wells and soaks were revisited on new bearings. The effort grew larger, more precise, and yet the country stayed one step ahead. Days slid into weeks. Sunset time lapses bled into star-cold nights, and each dawn began the count again. Footprints thinned to nothing. Ashes scattered off stony rises, and every promising sign dissolved on the wind. No definitive trace, only questions, and the wide center keeping its own counsel. Midsummer. Heat shimmers on an endless horizon. Our goal here is simple: strip away rumors, weigh the evidence, and ask what most likely happened in unforgiving country where a wrong turn can be fatal. The leading explanation is brutally ordinary: disorientation, dehydration, and exposure under extreme heat, likely compounded by a small route deviation that grew catastrophic as water ran low and landmarks blurred in glare and mirage. In such terrain, back to the track is not simple. Wheel ruts fork, dune spurs conceal gullies, and distant features drift in heat haze. A minor detour to skirt soft sand can bypass a crucial junction or push a person beyond their safe water radius. Alternative 1. Vehicle failure, far from reliable water. A bogged or broken vehicle offers shade, but also a terrible wager. Stay and hope for rescue, or set out on foot with dwindling reserves. Many perish within sight of later search lanes. Alternative 2, burial by weather. Sandstorms can entomb tracks and equipment in hours. A shallow depression, a collapsed lee of a dune, what was visible at dusk can vanish by dawn beneath wind-piled sand. Alternative 3, a compromised well. Old hand-dug shafts can collapse, be concealed by drift, or hold toxic, saline, or fouled water. Deadly to drink, irresistible when desperate. Rumors of foul play circulate in any high-profile disappearance. But here, no credible forensic link, no verified witnesses, and no corroborated chain of evidence support sensational claims. Why no remains or gear? First, wind erasure. Footprints, light debris, and faint tire marks are brushed clean by overnight gusts. By day 2, even trained trackers can face a blank slate. Second, scavengers. Birds and small carnivores disperse remains. Insects and heat accelerate breakdown. Scattered items may be carried, chewed, or buried incidentally, leaving scant trace. Third, moving landforms. Dune crests migrate, swallowing tracks, textiles, and even vehicles. What searchers miss one season may lie meters below the next. Over the years, multiple expeditions returned with GPS, drones, and ground search teams, mapping probable routes, gridding dune fields, and probing old camps and wells. Claimed finds surface regularly: a canteen, a compass, scraps of canvas. Some align with period gear but lack provenance. Others are misdated or unrelated. Few meet the bar for independent confirmation. Where evidence converges is on behavior under heat stress. Studies show judgment, wayfinding, and risk assessment degrade as core temperature rises, amplifying small navigation errors into life-threatening separations from water or shelter. The most consistent scenario remains this: a modest detour, mounting heat, and a push to regain the track that instead deepened the loss of orientation, ending in fatal exposure, out of sight of later search lines. In country that keeps its secrets, certainty is rare. What we can say, respectfully, and from the record, is that ordinary hazards explain the loss far better than extraordinary plots. Under the Milky Way, the dunes move on. First, the official word. A formal inquiry concluded the party died by exposure and dehydration after becoming lost in Central Australia. Harsh heat, long distances, and failing water supplies. No credible evidence of conspiracy or foul play was found. No conspiracy, just heat, vast country, and the unforgiving arithmetic of water loss. In that country, conditions can turn deadly within hours when navigation slips and supplies run thin. So why were no remains quickly found? Wind, shifting dunes, and fierce heat erase tracks, scatter effects, and conceal evidence. Scavengers and time do the rest in a landscape this vast, and distance pushes remains far beyond narrow search corridors. Today, memorials mark the loss. Plaques on remote tracks, interpretive signs, and place names that keep the story alive on country. The naming remembers the people. It is not meant in jest. Their loss reshaped search and rescue. Stricter route plans, scheduled check-ins, and clear contingencies for delays. Radios and EPIRBs became standard kit across remote expeditions. Water ration protocols and survival training were strengthened for anyone traveling far from help. Even so, the mystery still grips Australia. With respect, we remember and keep learning from the desert.